Hi everybody, I recently have been playing the Tekken 8 closed beta network test, as has my guest, John McBaugh,
Here's Johnny!
and he's not bloody this time.
Wait, what was the cue again?
Fuck! Really, John?
Yep, that was the point. Hi,
Okay,
everybody.
I wasn't sure where you were going to go with it this time, because last time you rambled about being captured and stuff.
Yeah, no, this time we'll make it sweet, short and sweet. Just like, wait, that was the cue? I didn't know that was the cue.
Okay.
But
So,
yeah.
what have you been thinking of the network test?
Well, biggest thing, at least, because I did put out a video, like a short little video of playing the network test. But overall, I say I'm impressed with it. But I didn't get to test it in all kind of conditions. But with what I did, I think it's pretty solid right now. And it's at least a good step into where they're going with things.
What do you mean by all conditions, though?
Like, so, my conditions, at least when I played it, were... I didn't point this out even in the video as well, which was like, you have 3 types of connection settings you can set for rollback. By default, the game is set to standard, but there's also prioritize graphics and prioritize input. I just left everything at default for that, along with 4 connection speed.
That is what I left it at. I left it at the default settings, and it performed the best I've experienced out of any fighting game's netcode.
I will say, yeah, with it, it is solid. I do feel response is good. I did actually notice the game hitch once or twice, sometimes during inputs, but also one time during the rage art. I just saw the game slow down. But I feel like that's a performance issue and not a network problem.
The only time I felt it hitching was when I was playing against a guy who was using the alternate controls and was on a bad connection. And I basically feel like he was probably cheating, because it went from like being completely solid to being completely dog shit bad whenever I would start to win that match. So I think there was something sus there.
Possibly there could have been something sus there. I know in my matches I never encountered anything like that with things, but then again, I don't know what I'm doing in Tekken, so I just was mashing buttons the whole time.
I kind of have an idea of what I'm doing with Tekken because I've played a little bit of Tekken 7.
You know, I've dabbled a little bit with Tekken 7, at least when we played, but I haven't put a lot of time into it. So I know pretty much little to nothing, and I've done the single player campaign for Tekken 6, but that's it.
From what you have played, what do you prefer so far, Tekken 6, Tekken 7, or Tekken 8?
Right now, 8, just because of the systems. And I do think those systems are really cool, along with that stylish, or that stylish control system as well. Which
I would say Tekken...
Go on.
Go ahead.
No, you first.
I would say Tekken 8 as well, because Tekken 8 is everything I'm looking for in a fighting game.
Like, you mean in terms of feel and movement and...
Yeah.
So, there's one question I'm gonna ask you with that. Is it this or DOA 5 then? Because I know you like DOA 5 a lot.
I think that I prefer DOA 5 overall, just because it has a special place for me as a gamer. Whereas Tekken 8, it's the new thing on the market, and it's the closest feeling I've gotten to Dead or Alive 5.
So you would say it's pretty close to that in terms of feel, like how you feel when you're playing the game.
Yeah, I would say that it has a bit more simplification than Dead or Alive 5, but it's also more complex in other ways, so it's kind of a push and pull thing. It's not a instance where one is head and shoulders better mechanically than the other.
Yeah, because, like, I know, what is it, DOA uses more of, like, a rock, paper, scissors style system, and holds are definitely its biggest thing that it uses. But at least with Tekken, like, the focus seems to be a lot on juggles. Or, like, extending combo strings, which is something I don't understand yet.
Which in Dead or Alive 5, that was a very large component of the gameplay, especially in last round, where you had critical launchers.
Mm-hmm.
So Tekken 8 kind of is similar in that, because you want to launch your opponent, which is something that I've always tried to do in fighting games, because that is the bad habit I picked up from Dead or Alive 5, where the juggle and the launchers were your game plan.
At least part of it, yeah, because like the thing I noticed with that, like they want you to use launchers and then say immediately engage your heat drive and then continue with that and end with like a heat smash attack or a dash to continue your chain.
Yeah, which I'm loving the heat system because it really rewards aggressive players like myself.
Which is what they're trying to go for. But maybe it's just me, but I feel like they changed the heat system in this. Maybe they're just testing things though.
You mean the rage system?
No, the heat system.
Well, isn't heat just introduced for Tekken 8?
Yeah, but when it was first shown, I remember seeing something for Tekken 8 when they were doing the developer showcase for it, where you activate the heat gauge and then you have like two chains where you could activate it and then one could be used for a dash, or if you use both or like whatever stock you have left, it's your heat smash. It seems like they got rid of the chain thing. So it's just like when you use it, you use the dash, your heat meter's gone completely.
Yeah, I did notice that. Maybe they realized they couldn't really balance it any other way. So
yeah, like I don't know if that's gonna make it in a final build. Like that's something we should have stated from the start for this, is that none of this is final. This is just like initial impressions of things. They are bound to change the next time they probably do a test or even when the final build comes out. So
well, I did say that it is the closed network test, so I think that goes with the territory that it's going to probably have some changes.
Yeah, which is what they're going to be doing. But yeah, just in case for those that missed it, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, no, like at least with the way they've balanced the heat system, like the heat system's fun, especially when you can combine it with like the rage system, like rage arts, because that's actually kind of interesting. I didn't put it in my video though for it, but I managed to do like a heat activation, go into a little bit of a combo, end with a heat smash, then go do one or two more hits when I was in rage, when I got into rage mode, and then do my rage art and win the round.
I managed to do something similar as well, and I love that because it doesn't feel like a comeback mechanic, the heat system at all, which I know a lot of people were really worried about.
Yeah, like it could be maybe depending on like what's happening, but heat seems to be more in the moment. Rage still seems to be your comeback system.
Yeah, and I don't think comeback mechanics are necessarily a bad thing. This is another topic I'd like to bring you back on for a podcast. Because we could easily go on for at least an hour about that particular mechanic.
About comeback systems and all of that. But in terms of where it is like right now, I think it plays fine, but I think the biggest change, it seems like, is that style system and how you can switch between it on the fly.
Which was kind of there in Tekken 7 to a degree.
There was?
Because you could press L1 and you could activate some simpler moves.
And I did try that, like try some matches with simpler moves, and maybe I'm just not understanding how Tekken's mechanics work, but it seems off compared to using just kind of standard stuff. Like the standard stuff does seem more difficult than the stylish one, or like their stylish kind of simple system when it comes to it. But I don't know. I would have to play more of it. But were you encountering players that were switching between them during matches?
Yeah, and they were actually the better players I fought against.
I didn't find that in my case. Because most of the players I was going up against, they were all just using classic controls. And just, I was getting schooled.
In my case, I ran into a mix of people using classic, a few people using stylish, and then a few people like myself who were using a hybrid of the two, and the people who were able to use the hybrid of the two effectively were actually the best players I fought against.
Yeah, because I know I played against some players, like you said, mostly like with classic or strictly stylish or a mix of the two. The mix of the two didn't seem as fluent as I saw when I was playing against other opponents, because a lot of it was maybe it's just being mistimed, but I feel like that could be the better system, like switching between them.
In Tekken 7, it was definitely down to timing.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say it's the same with Tekken 8, and I think that people just don't know the timings yet because we don't exactly have access to the frame data.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we do in training mode, but that only gives you a very limited amount of information, I noticed.
Yeah. And I just have one hope, because I saw this in Tekken 7. Don't put frame data behind DLC. Don't make us pay for it.
Yeah, definitely. That is definitely something that I hope doesn't happen. I did notice that there was some frame data, it just wasn't a lot of frame data, and I think they're kind of keeping a lot of that under the hood until launch day.
Which makes sense.
One thing I did notice, though, since we're kind of bridging into that topic, I noticed that there were definitely some characters who were head and shoulders above the rest. How about you?
I didn't see too many mix of characters when playing, but there was like maybe one or two constants, at least during mine when I was playing.
Who were your constants?
Claudio and Kazuya.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. I ran into a lot of Law and Lily players, and in my experience, those two characters were head and shoulders better than the rest when actually playing them.
I actually did try Law, because I was playing against Xiao Yu, and I managed to make a comeback because they were 2 ahead of me and 0, and I managed to make the comeback with it. But Law doesn't seem that complicated. He actually seems like a lot of fun to use.
See, Law has always been an easier character to use.
Mm-hmm.
But one thing I noticed is he seems to be like Terry Bogard was in the early days of KOF 15, safe on most moves.
He kind of feels safe on most moves, I've noticed. At least whenever I could pull off some things, like he seems like it's pretty safe, or you have a gap for things.
Mm-hmm. Also, he feels like one of the speedier characters.
For me, like I played this character, and I also went up against one of them. I think actually Huarang's the best character.
See, I didn't get along with Huarang when I played him. I did notice a lot of players were using him, and I actually noticed that for the majority of people who were using the stylish style, were actually using Huarang, so...
Yeah, I could see that. I could see that with Huarang. I think I tried him for stylish, and it's like... Yeah, this almost feels like cheating, in a sense. But even playing with the standard mode for Huarang, with the very, very limited knowledge I have, I think he's the best character. Because for me, it's a toss-up between Huarang and Xiao Yu for best characters right now in Tekken 8.
Why do you feel like they're the best ones?
Huarang feels very pick up and play to me, but Huarang also gives me the vibes of Kim Kapwan, but I also like Taekwondo characters. So Kim, Jerry,
that might be why you got along with him.
Mm-hmm. But I did find him fun to use.
I also didn't find him all that fun to use, so...
But I also have my friend Sinister. Like, he likes playing Huarang and Tekken. I think that's his go-to character.
It probably will be.
Yeah, it might be for me right now, but we'll have to see.
Next time you get a chance to, play Asuka for a little bit.
I did see 1 or 2 Asuka players, and I found Asuka is a very good parry character.
That is definitely the bread and butter of her gameplay, but I like the changes they've made to her because I'm actually an Asuka main, so...
So you're gonna have to dig your teeth into that one.
Yes. And I love that they made her much more aggressive, because that actually suits her personality far better.
Okay.
Because the thing is, she's supposed to be a brash, tomboyish girl, so having more aggression suits her playstyle to a T. Well, suits her personality to a T, this new playstyle.
I don't know why, but Asuka almost seems like a female Jin.
How so?
I don't know. It just seems like that. Like, in terms of, like, how hard her moves can hit and just, like, her speed of things. Because I know Jin hits hard, but Jin feels, like, kind of seems balanced in terms of his movements and stuff. Asuka kind of gave me those vibes when I saw her in motion.
See, Asuka is supposed to hit like a truck, so she could actually hit quite hard in Tekken 7.
I can only imagine what she could do in Tekken 8.
Yeah. And one thing I did notice is she is not very safe as a character.
That's one thing I noticed too when fighting her, is like, if you screw up, you can be easily punished.
Whereas in Tekken 7, she wasn't too safe, but she wasn't too unsafe either. She was kind of a good mix. So it's going to take me a while to get used to her balance changes, because she has a lot of new moves I noticed as well.
I wonder if any of them have returned from previous Tekken games.
I wouldn't have a clue, but I can tell you that they're doing this because they want to differentiate her from Jun a little bit.
Yeah, which I need to talk about that. She's the character I want to use. I can't get on board with her right now.
I could get on board with her because a lot of her moves are very similar to Asuka's moves in Tekken 7.
At least from that style, from what you've seen of her?
Yes. Which makes sense since Asuka originally replaced Jun anyways.
Yes, I do remember saying that. But Jun is one I want to get on board with. But I think I need to dig into her style a little more and see what's up. Because trying like both the stylish moves and the standard ones, I don't know why it wasn't clicking.
I would say play some Tekken 7 when you get the chance, because I know you're very busy lately. And pick Asuka. Just pick Asuka, figure her out, and you will start to have some fundamentals for Jun.
And would some of those fundamentals also carry over for Asuka as well?
Yeah, because she still plays kind of similar, and she does have a lot of move carryover. It's just she's no longer the balanced to defensive character that she was in Tekken 7, if that makes any sense.
Okay.
She is now much more rushdown, I would say. Rushdown with parries.
Oh no, Asuka,
no,
sorry.
Asuka. Jun I've not played in any previous Tekken games, so I can't tell you
how she is. I do have Tekken Tag Tournament 2, and I know that was the last game she was playable in. So I'd have to load up Tag 2 and see what's up with that one. But Ling, like, Xiaoyu is probably the other character I can totally get on board with right now in this game.
I know that my friend Asa the Ace is going to be absolutely happy to hear that, as Xiaoyu is one of her mains in Tekken.
She does seem like a lot of fun, and she seems very speedy.
She is very speedy. She was speedy in 7. She's speedier here because, honestly, all of the characters feel like they've taken speed. And I like that move because even slower characters like Nina now actually feel average speed.
Yeah, and Nina has the range too. Like, I noticed I did fight up against Nina, and she's got range this time.
I did not like Nina when I tried her out.
But I feel like she's using her guns more for her combos, I would guess, because did she use her guns in Tekken 7?
I don't think so.
Okay, so that's probably new for Tekken 8.
Yeah. I just felt like something was off. I couldn't tell you what, but the character felt not quite right to me. But that could just be down to playstyle, not that she's a bad character.
And it's also, we didn't really have a lot of time to play with these characters, so
no,
that's where final build's going to come into play here, or at least when the game releases.
And unlike you, I actually played all 16 characters.
Yeah, because I only tried 4 out of those builds. So yeah, Jun, Warang, Law, and Zhao Yu. But I feel like at least playing them gave a very basic but good idea. There were still other characters I wanted to try. Like Paul is one I wanted to try. Same with Claudio, Serafino, and even Jin, but
I tried out Paul. I didn't like him that much.
He's not your playstyle?
It was just a case of I couldn't get on with his combo strings.
Mm-hmm.
They just felt like they were too strict for me, and I'm just like, okay, that's fine. He hits hard, but I don't feel like I could combo off very well with him, and I just didn't have fun playing as him.
I'll have to give him a shot because the thing, like, Paul seems more of like a brawler, if anything.
Maybe. But I will say this, Law is now in the mix for me as a main, as is Lily, as is Asuka, as is Jun. Those are the kind of four that I'm looking at
least right now. Yeah. Well, Asuka makes sense because of Tekken 7. For you, at least. Like, Lily, you probably played in Tekken 7, is what I'm guessing, right?
Yeah. Lily was the first character that I actually started trying out in Tekken. And Tekken 7 was my very first experience with the Tekken series. So, yeah, Lily was kind of the first character I picked up, and I dropped her rather quickly. Because I found, despite having the good speed in Tekken 7, and the good mix-ups, which are two things, as you know, I look for in a fighting game character, is speedy mix-up. Yeah, Lily's damage output was so horrible that I was like, okay, we are not going to get along here.
Makes me wonder
Time to find someone else.
In previous installments, who knows? Like, she could have been a beast in, like, Tekken 6 or Tag.
That's very possible. She is a beast, though, in Tekken 8, I can tell you that much. She doesn't do a ton of damage, but she has really good pokes. Her mix-ups are excellent, and she has a low kick that is very hard to not take the hit on. But if it whiffs hard, so...
There's one character I would like to see, because I know when I dabbled with Tekken 7 with you for like a brief moment, I'd want to see Eliza make the game. Because the tiny bit I tried with Eliza, I thought she was awesome, but I know she doesn't play, it seems like a typical Tekken character.
She would definitely be an interesting character to add to the mix. Are there any other characters you have a wish list of?
At least looking through, like I said, I haven't played a lot of it, or just looking, or tried a lot of these characters, but I think Eliza would probably be my number one pick, along with, I just gotta make sure I get her name right, because I don't want to screw up her name for this, but I did like Zafina's look and design in Tekken 7. I would maybe like to see her make the cut.
I have only a very short list of characters I want.
Well,
I want Lydia, because guess what? She's a karate user, and her inputs are literally reverse Hitomi from Dead or Alive 5 and 6. So
it would be a perfect fit for you.
Yeah. And the other one is Elisa, because I've been playing her in Tekken 7, because one of my friends who streams on Twitch, Setsi, she is an Elisa main, and I started dabbling in the character just because of that. Love the character. Great damage, great mix-ups, amazing speed.
I remember trying her out for the single-player campaign for Tekken 6, along with Lars. Like, we already have Lars in Tekken 8, so that makes me happy. So I feel like they're gonna have Elisa into the mix, because it would make sense. It seems like those two go hand in hand with each other.
I don't know the storyline, so I'll take your word for it.
Yeah, it's been a long time since I played Tekken 6, so I don't really remember much of that campaign, but I know that's where they were both introduced, so I feel like you're gonna see her in Tekken 8. If they don't do that as base. If they don't do her as base, that'll be a bit surprising, maybe.
I was gonna say, do you think she'll be base or DLC?
I think she'll be base. The two that
What about?
I was thinking of, like they were DLC for Tekken 8. I would like to see them as base.
Mm-hmm. Do you think Lydia will be base roster, or do you think she'll be DLC again?
I think they're gonna do the same thing with her like they did with Najd in KOF. Strictly
So
DLC.
just be okay. Um,
I feel like that's
but
what's
yeah,
probably gonna happen. But I mean,
but
at least
yeah.
for those are the two that come to mind, but I'm still trying to dig through the rest of the roster of like who has been in Tekken. And I don't
Mhm.
know. Another one that came to mind was we already have martial law. What about forest law?
That could be interesting. Also, you liked is it Katarina or Catalina? I forget.
For which one?
Tekken.
For Tekken? Katarina?
Yeah. Weren't you using her in Tekken 7 when we played together?
Let me see. When we tried that. Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. Sunglasses girl. Sexy lady.
Yes.
Yeah, no, I tried her for a bit, and she actually looks like she could be fun to use.
I
But
mean, you were kicking ass with her.
so if she could make the cut, that would be cool. But I know there's an alternative to her, kind of.
Who's that?
Christy Montero.
Don't know her.
She was in Tekken 6 and Tekken 5. And I remember seeing her in Tekken 6 and thought she looked amazing. So, I mean, Christy is also another one of my picks to see them make the roster. But if Katarina does make the cut, I think that could be cool.
Awesome. Are there any guest characters you'd like to see?
I might channel Maximilian for this one. Tifa.
That would be cool. I would
It
totally
makes
be
sense
down
for
for that.
Tekken. It makes sense for Tekken.
It does, and honestly, I'd probably be a Tifa main, and I know you're gonna make a joke at my expense, so go right ahead.
Well, I mean, you need those fists of love somehow. If that's what
Nice.
you want to call it, but no. I would say for guest characters, Tifa, I would like to see another SNK collaboration,
As would I.
but I mean, you could put Geese in again. That would be an idea, but I'd probably say the other bets you should put either Terry or Rock.
See, I would just want Vanessa if we're getting KOF characters.
If you want to put KOF, but I'm not thinking KOF here. I'm thinking Fatal Fury.
Fair enough. In that case, be Jenny.
Just because she's your main.
Yes. Fuck everyone.
Nah, fuck you. No, I could see V Janet working for it, but I mean, for star power, it's gotta be Terry.
Yeah.
Terry's more
see
well known,
Terry.
but if they do Terry, they gotta give him his Goro outfit.
Yep. Which, speaking of, next week, are you down for a discussing Garo 2?
I'm not gonna be here.
Okay, week after.
When I come back, we can decide on that one.
Yeah.
Because I'll be gone for a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But looking at least going back for like other guest characters, what's one that you think would work or you would want to see?
I want Hitomi from Dead or Alive.
If they could partner with Koei Tecmo for that, that would be cool.
Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if Bandai Namco and Koei Tecmo wind up doing this, because let's face it, we do have the rumored Dead or Alive reboot, which I believe is actually, I think that was actually confirmed when they announced it, and I think they realized, oh shit, it wasn't ready for prime time.
Same thing with the Ninja Gaiden. Same thing with the Ninja Gaiden announcement.
Yeah, I think that we will probably officially get Ninja Gaiden announced sometime in the next 8 to 12 months. Officially, that is. Not the abort situation.
They could probably reveal it at TGS or the Game Awards.
Yep. And I get the feeling that we'll probably get it announced within the next year, and it'll probably be a 2025 release date.
Probably by the looks of things, because I mean, already for the next little bit, things are packed right now. We have Mortal Kombat 1 coming out in September.
Mm-hmm.
And then next year we have both, at least potentially. I'm not saying officially yet, but potentially Tekken 8 next year and Gauro 2 next year.
Yeah, but I wasn't thinking just fighting games. I was thinking just Koei Tecmo's stuff.
But no, that's another discussion to be saved. But there are some things I want to play from them besides DOA and Ninja Gaiden. Like some of the recent stuff that they got coming out. Like there's stuff I want to play that looks awesome.
I do want to have a quick tangent though, just continuing my thoughts from like the Ninja Gaiden and Dead or Alive announcements. I get the feeling we will officially see Dead or Alive reboot announced probably right after Ninja Gaiden releases, and probably it'll get a 2026 release date.
That seems possible. The one thing I want to see they do, though, is they're probably going to push this more for esports. They want to make it more heavy into that, because DOA, honestly, it seems like it hasn't really had that prime time.
They tried with 6, and I don't see them going down that route.
For this next installment?
Yeah, I think they're gonna be like, okay, we pissed off our core fan base. We tried esports, and it was really unsuccessful. Let's get the core audience back in, and just be the niche game.
It'll still have its audience, though. Like, I mean, listen, if you can bring back Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3 for EVO, who says you can't pull off anything like that for Dead or Alive?
True, but I'm just pointing out that Dead or Alive, I think, is going to just go back to being the sexy titty game, for lack of a better term, even though it is a much deeper package than that.
And because it's just looking at it at surface value, sadly.
Yeah. Because Dead or Alive, it managed to make its name because of sex appeal, and its fan base
wants a jiggle
that
physics toggle.
Yeah. And the fan base wants that sex appeal, let's face it.
At least for that. Like, the way I look at that, too, is like, you can do that, keep it tasteful, but don't put it in your face.
Fair enough. Anyways, I was, in a roundabout point I was trying to make, I wouldn't be surprised if the Dead or Alive reboot winds up running on Unreal Engine 5. Which I believe that is what Tekken 8 is running, is it not?
Yes, it is. Tekken 8 is running on Unreal Engine 5. I think this is the first like big budget AAA fighting game I've seen use Unreal Engine 5.
Yeah. But I wouldn't be surprised if Koei Tecmo wants to gain experience with that. And let's face it, what better way to kind of reintroduce the Dead or Alive brand than through Tekken 8, which will be the big 3D fighting game, and also get some of your staff members some experience making a fighting game in Unreal Engine 5. They could literally be like, okay, Tekken, you will guest star in our game if we can guest star in yours, and you let some of our staff members actually learn how to work Unreal Engine 5 for a fighting game.
Potentially. Because if I remember correctly, DOA came out after Tekken.
Let me check that real quick. You can babble.
Yeah, I believe that was the case. Yeah, DOA came out after Tekken. But to go off on another quick side tangent with it, if you want to see a fighting game return following, like, with Tekken, give me another Virtua Fighter.
I think we're going to get that really soon. Actually, that would be kind of cool, having a Virtua Fighter guest character.
For Tekken? Yeah, because I know we've seen... I don't think we've seen too many Tekken characters as guests in other, like, major fighting games. I could be wrong on that. If it is, please let me know. I'd love to hear it. But we know we've seen characters guest in, like, a Dead or Alive, and you've seen characters guests in Tekken. Like, you have Final Fantasy, you have Negan from The Walking Dead, you have Geese from Fatal Fury. Tekken has done guest characters.
So I looked, and Dead or Alive 1 came out in 96, and Tekken 1 came out in 94.
Okay. So yeah, 2-year difference, yeah. So that is correct. Yeah, DOA did come out later. probably riding that 3D, like the wave of 3D fighters like VF and Tekken.
Well, the thing is, Dead or Alive owes its lifeblood to
Tekken.
Virtua Fighter. No, Virtua Fighter.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was built on the same arcade boards.
Interesting.
Yeah, so a lot of DOA's DNA is much closer to Virtua Fighter than it is to Tekken, even though people say it's a poor man's sexy Tekken.
No, it's just more like it's saying it's sex appeal because we know that's what they were trying to go for with it. But it did have a different feel to it, at least compared to Tekken, and that's at least what made it stand out.
Yep. So, are there any concerns you have with Tekken 8?
I won't be able to test it during this next beta, but I want to know how crossplay is going to work.
I want to know how crossplay is going to work. Also, I'm very concerned about the matchmaking.
Well, I'm not going to say much with matchmaking right now. It was a little bit jank because it's like you started and you're playing against players. We were playing against players that were like, I don't know, 50,000 points ahead, 40,000 points ahead.
See, that wasn't really a concern for me, and I'll tell you why. Because it has a very small player pool to pull from that sense.
Yeah, but that's not a negative right now. It's just, as you said, it's a player pool right now for people playing it.
But what I did find concerning is I would sometimes be going 10, 15 minutes between finding a match. That is not a good thing.
I did have that as well, but I don't find that too much of a concern. Like, if it's like a 10-minute thing, if you're getting to like 20, half an hour or higher for your matchmaking, then I find that's a problem.
See, at the end of my stream, when I was streaming it, that was getting close to it.
Yeah, that's the same thing with mine when I was streaming Tekken. It's just like, I did actually come across like 2 or 3 players, but none of them were accepting. And that's when I dropped the parameters to like, give me anything. Give me anything for it. It did find some matches, but they weren't being approved.
Interesting. Either way, I'm kind of concerned about that because the long wait times does not bode well, and look at how that basically killed KOF 15 pretty early on.
Yeah, that was one of its problems. I feel like this game will have an edge, just like Street Fighter 6 does, because you have crossplay right off the bat.
True.
So I don't think that'll be the problem.
And also, it's got a much bigger name, let's face it. Because I did not know about the King of Fighters until you basically started rambling about it.
And look at what happened.
Yep.
But yeah, no, Tekken is a more well-known name. There's going to be more players playing it for sure. And I don't know why. I feel like I'm going to have a sneaking suspicion most of these players will be playing on PC.
Why do you think most of them will be playing on PC?
It seems like that's where some fighting games are going. They're moving. Most are playing on PC just because I think the PC has much lower input delay compared to the consoles. Like, this was shown with KOF 15, and I think this was also shown with Street Fighter 6 on PC. It's much lower.
Definitely does.
Yeah.
But I get the feeling most players are going to be on console for Tekken 7, and I'll tell you why.
Tekken 8, you mean?
Yeah, Tekken 8, sorry. Tekken 8, because Tekken is going to require beastly specs.
Yeah, actually, I want to look at what those specs are again. Because I was tempted to actually get the beta for PC, or that network test for PC, but good thing I didn't, because I'm not going to be able to play it.
So it worked out for you then.
At least, yeah. So Tekken 8 PC system requirements. Let me see what these specs are. Looking at the... That's actually not bad. That's actually kind of low.
What are the minimum?
You need a Ryzen 5 2600 or an i5 6600, 8 gigs of RAM, an RX 470 or a GTX 970, and 20 gigs of storage.
But how well is that actually going to perform?
Like, for minimum, you're probably going to be able to play this thing at 720p, as a guess.
So, yeah, not great, really.
But then again,
I'm
that's what the
thinking,
minimum is there. Like, if you look at the recommended specs, that's still low, I find. A Ryzen 5 3600 or an i7 7700, double the RAM, and an RTX 2060 or an RX Vega 64. That's not
so
bad.
so I will be more than fine, which is good because I've got a Ryzen 5 5600G, I've got 16 gigs of RAM, I got a 2080 Super.
Yeah, no. So you're easily running this game at recommended specs, and you could probably push it a little bit too. But I think if you're wanting to play this game at say 4K, then you're going to be struggling there.
Which, to be honest, I want to play most of my games in 4K.
Mm-hmm.
Which is why I prefer my PS5 to anything else.
And that's the other thing I'm curious about, actually, with like, if we're gonna go on the tangent right now with the PC version of Tekken 8, the thing I'm curious about with PC is how well it's gonna be optimized, because I don't think, at least at this point in time right now, there aren't very many UE5 games, Unreal Engine 5 games, on PC.
I agree with you on that. There aren't really many Unreal Engine 5 games out there that I can think of in general yet.
Like, the biggest one is Fortnite. That's running Unreal Engine 5, and hot take, I think it looks gorgeous.
It definitely does.
It looks gorgeous. It's well optimized.
I'm just pointing out, though, that even on console, it's pretty slim pickings for Unreal Engine 5 at the moment.
Yeah, right now, like, we're gonna see some games. There are games being worked on it, but we're gonna start to see those eventually, sooner rather than later. Like, I imagine maybe by the end of the year, before the end of the year, we'll have at least maybe a few. But starting from 2024 onwards, we're gonna start to see more UE5 games.
Which I'm really excited for, because it is gorgeous looking. Anything in Unreal Engine 5.
Yeah, and Tekken is just kind of proving that point. I think this is, at least visually wise, miles away better than what Tekken 7 was.
I agree. Tekken 7, it kind of looked blah to a degree.
And Tekken 8 just basically fixes that problem.
Yeah. Tekken 7 was still nice looking, it's just, I found that the skin tones were pretty waxy, almost PS3 era-like.
Mm-hmm.
Which, acceptable, not great. Hair model looked pretty aged. The fabric, though, the fabric looked good.
And they also said, like, when working for this, they're basically rebuilding everything.
Which I thought was interesting.
Because, let's face it, you can only use same assets over and over up to a certain point, and you have to do something new.
Yep.
You have to rebuild it, because the funny thing is, like, KOF was built on that. How do you think they did yearly installments?
By reusing assets smartly.
Mm-hmm. And I imagine Tekken did that for a while, when going from, say, like, maybe Tekken 5 to Tekken 6 to Tekken 7, but now you would get to Tekken 8, and it's like, no, it's basically a reset button.
Yep. Also, since we're kind of tangentially on the topic, there's something I wanted to discuss with you. Do you think that this generation of consoles is going to be longer than previous generations?
I have a strange feeling it will be.
Me too. Why do you think this is?
We haven't tapped into potential yet. It's just now we're leaving last gen behind. I want to see what these consoles are capable of. And I want to see PCs at least push their hardware now, because the PC has been, like, left behind, and it's kind of been struggling with some of its PC ports. And I want to see that change now. Like, if they focus with stuff for PS5 and the series consoles, the PC will be able to keep up with it. Because the one example, again, continuing on that tangent, is I want to see how Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart's going to be on PC.
That is something I would definitely be interested in knowing. I have it on PS5, I love it on PS5, and I am blown away by it, even almost 2 years later, like, replaying it.
Yeah, because right now, at least when it comes for games for these current systems, we're not seeing much that's really been pushing the hardware. You've had a handful of things here and there, but now that, like, we're leaving last gen behind, we're going to start to see more stuff transition into the new era. So, like, Tekken 8 is one of those examples.
Do you want to know why I think we're going to get a longer generation?
What's your thought?
I think it's because consoles have finally plugged the gap to a large degree between the power vacuum of a PC and the power vacuum of a console.
Like, the power's getting there, yeah. It is there, like, since they switched over to basically more PC architecture for this stuff.
Yep. It's not only that, but also the fact that in some ways these consoles are outperforming low to mid-end PCs
Mm-hmm.
in the same price bracket.
And the other thing is, like, let's face it, buying PC hardware is a little ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
And I hate it. I personally hate that.
I hate it too. It's actually part of why I stopped being a PC gamer for the longest time.
Like, at least focusing for PC stuff. Yeah, that's kind of an issue, but if hardware becomes, like, more reasonably priced, which I bet it will at some point.
Oh yeah, we're definitely due for a crash on the bubble at some point.
Because I want to build a new PC personally. I still want to do it, but I can't with how much pricing is right now.
Which is super frustrating.
Mm-hmm.
But that is one reason I feel like this console generation is going to last longer. I also feel like we're kind of at a technological standstill, because look at PS3 and PS4. Yeah, we had some technological jumps, but they weren't huge between PS3 to PS4. And then PS4 came out, and then we just had a huge amount of technology in a short space of time where everything was getting better, faster, more efficient. With this generation of hardware, I don't see that happening as much. And I don't think we're going to need a mid-console lifecycle refresh like we did with the Xbox One and the PS4 to PS4 Pro.
But it's going to happen. There's going to be a mid-console refresh.
I don't think there will be.
It's kind of been... I thought it was kind of confirmed with, like, those Microsoft court documents.
It might have been, but I'm also hearing rumblings from my own sources that unless we see a huge technological jump again, Sony at least is not going to be doing a mid-cycle refresh. They'll do a Slim, but they won't do a Pro.
Mm-hmm. Like, if there's a Slim, it might be tempting to get a Slim.
Maybe. It would depend entirely on if they, like, added some upgrades to it. Like, the only thing I could really see them doing that would make a Pro model or a Slim model worth buying if you're already an existing PlayStation 5 owner is if they added more M.2 bay expansions, or even like a expansion to add a SATA drive.
I doubt they're gonna do that for PlayStation 5 because of the speed requirements it needs for that storage.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying like an extra M.2 drive. Like if you could run 3 of them.
Oh, that would be... That's overkill. It'd be like, okay, fine, that's my PC at this point.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, like, really, PS5, I don't see a refresh happening because it's running well. We haven't tapped into the potential of the games yet. The console's not a choke point like the PS4 was, because let's face it, that was a potato even when it came out.
Hey, at least it was slightly better than Xbox One.
Both were potatoes.
Xbox redeemed itself. PlayStation pretty much rode that life cycle to success. But going back to what we were saying with this...
And Nintendo screwed the pooch.
What do you mean the Switch is a success?
I'm talking about the PU. It stunk that badly, we can't even call it its proper name.
Oh, Wii U will.
What?
No, I just wanted to sound stupid, that's all. But
okay,
going back to what we were talking about, at least for this, so like Tekken is going to be one of the first, I think, interesting cases for like a proper current gen fighting game, and another example of good use of Unreal Engine 5 for this generation. So I'm hoping this isn't the last time we're gonna see it, but they still have things like the networking is looking good. We know it's gonna be tuned up. They're probably going to run more beta tests by the sounds of things.
Mm-hmm.
And hopefully it's going to be more open, because the biggest thing is going to be just making sure that crossplay works. Because, like I said, I'm not going to be able to test it, but are you going to be able to?
Oh yeah, I will be able to.
Yeah,
and I'll be doing a video on that.
Yeah, because I could only do it for the current conditions, but I want to see how it's going to work under crossplay conditions. That's the big test right there.
Definitely. I meant to ask earlier, what do you think the base roster size is going to be?
The base roster size?
Mm-hmm.
Well, Harada-san confirmed it's more than Street Fighter-san. So it's going to be more
that
than
had
18.
That had a pathetic sized roster at launch. And
It's not going to be as big as KOF. No, wait, I take that back. I was going to say it's not going to be as big as KOF, but I take that back.
I think
it's going to be more than Mortal Kombat.
Mm,
it's going to be more than Mortal Kombat 1. I want to say 30 plus.
I think it's going to be between 34 and 42.
Now remember, that's just base. That doesn't include DLC, and we don't know how long they're going to support Tekken 8 for.
I think they're going to support it almost as long as they supported Tekken 7. Which was quite a while, because it's still got some updates
4 years. 4 years of updates.
Mm-hmm. I think that we'll see probably 4, maybe 5 years of updates.
I just hope when it comes for that, the only hopes, again, we're just thinking for the future, do not make Frame Data a DLC.
Yeah.
Please, if you're going to do something like Tekken Bowl, please put it in the box.
I agree. Actually, I think that we might see Tekken Bowl because, let's face it, even though I'm going to be dunking on Street Fighter for the rest of my life, well, Street Fighter 6 anyways, who knows, I might like Street Fighter 7, but it did show that fighting games, they need the single-player content just as badly now as they did in the 90s and the 2000s.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that now that they realize you can't just make a bare-bones experience designed to appease the esports crowd, you need extra content. Tekken Bowl is the perfect way to do that, because they could even incorporate that into the story mode.
Potentially. Like that, but the focus on single-player content, it definitely needs something. Because that's one thing I appreciated with Tekken 6, was that story mode. Because it wasn't just like fights, it almost played like a 3D brawler, if I remember it correctly. I feel like if you're gonna do a campaign, like do the story stuff like you saw in Tekken 7, but maybe do something like in Tekken 6, like do like a 3D brawler style of thing, just as like another kind of single player mode. That could be cool. Or even like do something insane, like World Tour mode for Street Fighter. That would be awesome.
That's what I was thinking. I think that we might see a Tekken World Tour edition, or whatever you want to call it, and I think that we'll probably see Tekken Bowl included, because they'll probably realize, okay, we actually need to include these mini-games to attract the more casual crowd, which is what they're always trying to do for sales.
But I also wouldn't be surprised if they do Tekken Bowl as DLC, because they did it for 7, and it sold well, apparently.
I wouldn't be surprised either. You know what I think they should probably just look at doing at this point?
Just a separate game?
Yeah, make it a separate game, make it like $20, and just kind of have it be a fun little thing.
Well, we'll have to see. I imagine as a guest, like, we're going to see some more stuff on Tekken leading up. I wonder if they're going to show off, like, modes for Tekken in the future, because as much as I still want to see what the roster's going to be, I want to know modes. And this doesn't just apply for Tekken. It also applies to MK when that's coming out. But we know MK, like, NetherRealm is great when it comes for single-player offerings. They are still one of the best out there. But I also want to see what SNK is going to do for Gaoro, because as much as I like KOF 15 and every other KOF, they are lacking in terms of single-player stuff.
Yeah, they definitely are, and they used to be the leader almost of that particular subset.
So I want to see what they're going to do for Gaoro too, but who knows, maybe we'll see something at EVO for that. But I think, again, going back for Tekken, what they show off, they got to show off modes, they got to show off at least, maybe give us a number of what the roster's going to be, and then still do the reveals, because I will still be watching those personally. As
will I. I've stopped doing videos on them, because they just didn't perform well for me, and I don't have the energy for it, so...
I'm still going to keep doing them, even like whether I get the views or not, just because I want to make them. I enjoy making them. They're fun to do, especially those thumbnails.
I enjoy making them, but when I don't have the energy to do it, it can go by the wayside. So is there anything else you kind of wanted to mention or talk about before we wrap things up?
Like I said, I'm a fucking noob when it comes to playing this game, but I'm still impressed with what I saw of it. I'm going to be playing Tekken 8. I want to see where things are going to go with it. Just show us the stuff.
Same here. So I'm going to be signing off now. It was great having you on again, John.
Thanks for having me.
Where can people find you?
Thank you for having me for that. But yeah, if you want to find me, I do have a Twitch. Twitch TV/John McBawn. I also have the YouTube as well, which you can find me with the same username. Thankfully managed to keep things consistent. Same thing with Twitter, or X, or whatever they're calling Twitter now these days. Who knows? Maybe something will happen in the future, I don't know. But yeah, you can find me on Twitter/X, and then other social media feeds, but keep in touch. I'd love to talk with you guys if you got anything to discuss.
Awesome. Thanks again for coming on, John. And I'm going to have 2 of our videos popping up because John did discuss Tekken 8, so I figured why not promote his video. And I'm also going to have my Tekken 8 initial impressions video popping up as well. Until next time, keep blazing that trail.